Hello guys and welcome to this webinar. So here we are going to talk about why does staying visible feel like a second full-time job you never signed up for, right? So this is part of the Visibility Verdict webinar series, a webinar where we are addressing the wrong conception about trying to get visible. Many people think that most of their problems in business have to do with the fact that they're not visible enough. But what we've come to observe in our system, in our growth automation philosophy is there are some things that you always need to face about your content. Things that are hard to be seen, right? That need to be faced before visibility should be addressed. And here we give a clear and data-based and data-backed verdict on visibility and help you know the things to do before you can move your business to make it more visible, right? So this is a sit webinar in the 8 webinar series addressing the visibility verdict, right? So do make sure that you watch the other webinar series. It's just a beautiful journey altogether for you. All right. So the system layer, aka the stronghold. This is one of the things that we discuss in this webinar as well. Just talk about system layer here. All right, so what is this webinar for? So this is for the coach, right, for whom staying visible has quietly become a second full-time job. You're already earning $5,000 plus in a month, and this isn't discipline problem, right? It is a missing decision layer. What am I trying to say here? That it's not so much as though you are not good or you don't have enough that people don't like, right? But in your attempt to get more visible, to try to face that visibility problem, you overloaded yourself with a marketing role that now seems to even be taking more time than what you're already doing. And I mean, it's making you now question the decision to even scale up your visibility game. All right, so marketing quietly became a second job. No clear end to the to-do list. No sense of weekly progress. So you're even making the content and it seems like you can't really track the progress, but because it is expansion time and you were told to increase your visibility, this is what you are just doing, but it seems like it's not getting you anywhere. All right. And then you know the weekend ritual, right, of staring at a blank content calendar, wondering what to make. So maybe AI made it easier now, but again, every time you are looking at your content calendar and try, what should I post? I've already posted this, I've already done that, right? What exactly do I do? And then you may be here and then you are you are one of the most consistent, hardest working people in your field and still feel exhausting. So it seems like you are putting in so much effort, but then more effort than even most people are actually doing in your industry, but feeling exhausted and not even having a harvest of those efforts. And then you've learned several frameworks in this series, right? This is a series on which we've been, but nothing is deciding which one to apply or when. And here we talk about with this is the sit webinar, so we had like 5 webinars so far and covered different frameworks, different strategies to help you grow. You may not even know what to use, so this webinar will help you exactly know what to do. All right, so we're going to answer the question of dealing with this second undesired and unsolicited job that you have, right, in a different part. First thing is why staying visible feels like a second full-time job, right? And then 2, why a better content calendar won't fix marketing burnout. 3, the blueprint, framework. This is a custom framework at the Growth Master. So the 4-step cycle that replaces the blank page. And then 4, audit this week's content, real constraints, or just a field slot, right? 5, how one coach cut weekly planning in half with one system change. 6, why adding a system feels like more work when you are already overwhelmed. And then 7, the monthly loop that ends the weekend content scramble. Right? Sometimes people sit in the weekend and just keep on trying to plan. We have one thing that you can do that stop that. And then lastly, so why does your marketing feel like a second job and what changes now? Awesome. So part 1, why staying visible feels like a second full-time job you never signed up for. Right? And if this part of a webinar, all right, make sure you watch the other videos in this webinar or enjoy or watch the entire webinar together as well. So it's definitely not discipline, right? And we'll address it more deeply. So 52 unguided decisions, that's for the 52 weeks, a year, is what exactly exhausting you. So you're overwhelmed from decisions. So what's actually happening? The exhaustion is not coming from content creation itself. It is coming from making 52 separate unguided decisions a year about what to create with nothing upstream helping to decide. So every week you are just randomly, you don't really know what you are trying to attack, right? And then it feels like every time you are trying to attack something new in your content or your marketing game. So 52 times doing that, of course you feel overwhelmed, you feel exhausted. So who this hits the hardest? So this is more for coaches who report this exhaustion, all right, and are frequently among the most consistent, the hardest working people in the field. And of course, you cannot be trying to put out content every week if you are not a hardworking person. Like, you will give up. Marketing is not so much of a hard thing to do, but the ability to stay on it over and over, week after week, kind of takes a hardworking person. So you are not a lazy person. So this is a discipline problem. That's definitely the thing I want to tell. So it's not that you are not disciplined, or you don't have what it takes, the stamina that the guru and the coaches they tell you about. It's not that you don't have what it takes. You actually have what it takes, right? So it's actually a structural problem. Same hours spent, 2 different weeks. So we just want to briefly compare to you what it looks like, the right thing and then the wrong thing. So the wrong concept. So no decision layer. So here there's no decision layer. There's nothing that you use to drive content decisions. So every week starts from a blank page. 2 hours, you are just there thinking, spend redesigning strategy from scratch every week. So this thing worked this week. Okay, let me try this thing next week. Okay, this guru said this thing. Okay, I saw this on Instagram. Okay, I saw this on TikTok. No, Gary Vee said this. All right. So there's no clear decision layer that you use in making your content. So it just makes everything scattered and not organized for you. And it just leads to you being overwhelmed and exhausted. And then the blueprint loop running. So 1 monthly decision, then weekly execution. That's the system that we introduce to you. So the time is cut by half, right? The planning time once the loop replaces the blank page. So there's a system there, and then you can just keep on doing it over and over again. So before you add another tool, right, find the real source. So we want to help you find the real source of your problem. In fact, we told you, but we want you to see it in the data yourself. First thing, time your next content planning session, honestly. Right. You want to spend time really timing your next planning session, honestly. So not an estimate, an actual clock, start to finish. So 2, notice how much of it is deciding versus producing. We want to do that. So how much of the time that you spend supposedly making content do you spend deciding versus producing? Right? Most of the dread lives in deciding, not the making. But decision is where your brain power, that machine inside your head, just get dreaded, gets drawn upon, gets tired, get exhausted, get used, feel so exhausted, right? So 3, ask what upstream decision would have removed that time. So the answer is pointing you towards the missing decision layer. So what could be a decision? What could be a decision from which type of question? What could you be considering in making a content decision? That would be like a form of a static question, right? Or a question that can be easily reframed and applied over and over. So we're talking here about a system. All right, part 2, why a better content calendar app won't fix your marketing burnout. So organizes versus decision. That's what you see here. Organizing is different than decision. So yeah, we're going to, if you are, this part of a webinar, all right. So if you are just watching this, make sure you watch other videos in this webinar. Watch your entire webinar together to know why it seems like you are getting the marketing role that you are holding now has become a second job for you. All right. So a new app reorganizes the blank page. It doesn't fill it. Most of the time when you are going through this type of overwhelming decision and after browsing so many pages trying to find out which content is working, which content is not working, what you end up now chasing is that you're trying to chase a new tool, a new app that will help you schedule stuff or that will help you have more clarity, right? But what you usually observe is that the app will not help you anything. If there's no decision made on what exactly to post and what exactly to focus on, right? The tool will have nothing to organize. The tool is meant to organize things that have been decided out of your framework, out of your personal study. But if you've not decided anything because you're overwhelmed or you keep on deciding the wrong thing, which accumulate the frustration week after week, then there will not be much progress made. All right. So the exhaustion follows you into every new tool you try. That's the unfortunate thing. Right? Some of you may be at your second tool, your third tool. Some of you is not a tool, it's a course. Right? Some of you is a book that you keep on trying over and over again. Right? But we just want to make it easier for you. All right. The tell that you are in the trap. So you've switched calendar or planning tools more than once. Hoping it will help. And the weekend planning dread came right along with the new interference. So you change to before and then the same issues keep on coming. The face is not a better tool, right? It's a decision layer upstream. I would assume what we mean by decision layer upstream of any calendar, right? Something that decides what belongs on it before you ever you ever open the app. All right. So apply it now. Stop shopping for a new content, for a new calendar tool. That's the first thing I want to do. I want to stop shopping for a new calendar tool. And what do you want to do? So the first thing I want to pause any plan switch to any planning app. And again, you may not be planning app. I just will planning app there because that will be the likely propensity, right, of most people. But for some people, it will just be a book, it will just be a course, it will just be even an accountability partner. All right. But the power may not come from there. So I want to pause anything like that, anything trying to switch or trying to get it better to is not a tool problem. Second thing is I want to list every tool you've tried in the past 2 years, or every course or everything that you may have tried to fix your content problem in the last 2 years. And then notice whether this underlying exhaustion move with you each time. So if you when you check, maybe you have 4 tools over the last 2 years. First two, right? When you move from the first to the second tool, did the exhaustion continue with you or stop? When you move from the second tool to the third tool, did the exhaustion continue with you or stop? If the exhaustion keep on running with you, you can clearly say that you are not dealing here with a tool problem. You are dealing with the wrong decision framework. You are just not putting in the right content. You are not even deciding the right way about the content to actually post. And many of us have been there before. So there's nothing really much to feel bad about. Here you hear there's nothing to do. All right. The third thing is redirect that energy towards part 3. Right. So we'll talk about part 3 very soon. Framework instead. So we have a framework in there that will help you direct that energy that you have, that zeal that you have to post every week or every time constantly. It is a system that will help you redirect it and organize it in the right way. All right. Thank you, Lord. All right. So part 3. The blueprint framework, right? This is something custom at the Growth Masters. This is what we use for many of our clients. All right, the first step cycle that replaces the weekly blank page. So it's first step, and then replace that weekly thing of you having a blank page and now thinking about a new thing to start. So how does it look like? So this is the graph that we have here. It will clearly help you see what's happening. So the blueprint loop, a repeating monthly cycle that decides what belongs on the calendar. The first thing you want to do is to diagnose. So identify the single binding constraint right now. So what exactly, here what you want to do is I want to really what's constraining your business right now, what's stopping your growth. And there are different things. There are 4 things that could stop growth, and we'll talk about them in the next slide. 2, design. Map content to move that exact constraint. So what could you address? Which aspect of it could you address, right? To actually, deal with that particular constraint. And then 3, deploy. That's the production and publishing side. That's where things actually move to the next level. And then 4, you want to diagnose again. So rerun at month starts this whole thing. And then, at the beginning of the month as well, whichever period in the month decide to do this. Whenever there's a new constraint that started, you remember it's a constraint that drove your designing and your deployment. So It's all based on that decision of what exactly to do about that constraint. All right. So resolving one constraint almost always reveals the next one underneath it. That's the truth of the matter. You will see that. All right. So let's look at it with more detail. So the blueprint framework. So diagnose and design. So step one, diagnosis. All right. So once a month, you want to identify which single constraint is actually limiting growth. Every once a month, you want to do that. So it could be visibility. That's you are not visible enough. Or yeah, you are not visible enough. And then authority. And with authority, you may think you are an authority, but does the market considers you as part of the authorities in the field? So some will say authority and visibility will be everything we have to marinate. And then beyond that, conversion in your despite the fact that you are known there, you are known for something, and then you are even visible. How accurately, how quickly, and how efficiently are you able to convert to move people from being strangers to them being clients? That matters a lot. Right? And then capacity. Capacity has to do with your ability to do these things without being exhausted, to have a great business without being exhausted, without being overwhelmed, to have great months without your content suffering, or to have a great content and then other things are suffering the business. So capacity of your business. So this one step removes the guesswork from every content decision every month. So that every month you just know what's happening in the business and you want to address it in a very special way. That's really what's. And then here the design, right? So step two, design. So you want to map that month's content specifically to move the diagnosed constraint, right? Using which framework applies. So what we've done is that throughout the webinars that we had in the past, we addressed many of those issues, be visibility, conversion, and then capacity. So we have different framework that you can use. If it's an authority pattern, there's authority gap that helps you build authority in the market. If it's an ownership ladder, right? Ownership ladder helps you, know exactly the type of content, the things that like building a database and not being dependent on a market, right? On a platform. That's what ownership can be. We have different things. The belief bridge. These are things that also have to do with authority as well, right? And then we have also have some different things over there. So just go through the video series, right? And just based on what you point out as your issue, be visibility, authority, conversion, or capacity, and then just pick one of those series. Just pick a framework that will help you out of it. Trying to explain again this whole framework over here will be making these videos too long. So I'll just recommend you to those other videos. And I think what I will try and do is, or what we try to do is that you just put those videos that will give you a glimpse into those frameworks in the comment section over here. Yeah. So design turns a diagnosis into the actual plan. Right. So you know what's wrong, you know what's supposed to be fixed. But at the design level now, you know, okay, this is how I'm going to address this. Right. So this is where the things turn more practical. And then three, deploy. So here you are going to not just produce, but also publish. So produce and publish the plan content, right? Your content batch. So gated through the one post rule and dilution check. These are all things that we discussed in the previous webinars from earlier chapters. So quality doesn't erode under the pressure of the plan. And really, quality should not erode under the design of the plan. And then step four, diagnose again. So at the start of the next month, rerun the diagnosis. So that's something you want to do month after month. And then resolving one constraint almost always reveals the next one underneath it, which is why it is a loop. So not a one-time fix. So, okay, by the time you start dealing with authority, you realize that, okay, I'm not authoritative, but do I stop being authoritative over there? Okay, I need to be more visible. Okay, but okay, it seems like it's about conversion. Let me do that. So you just keep on knowing what to do. And that knowing what to do is not just based on you, it's also based on what's happening in the market. If during that month there was a story that a certain coach in your industry, maybe for some reason, stole or took clients' money, disappeared, or was involved in a big scandal, visibility can be high, authority can be high, but then conversion will be the problem for a couple of months or for a certain season in that particular industry. And that has nothing to do with you per se. And it doesn't matter even how hard or strong your authority is, you may be some way somehow affected by it. So this is how you really want to process what's happening. So the blueprint loop at a glance. So first one is diagnosis. So name the binding constraint. Two is design. Map content to move it. So which type of content are you going to do to deal with that particular constraint? Three is deployment. So you want to produce and publish gated for quality. So there are frameworks there to get the quality, not so that you just don't release the wrong things or just release for release sake. And then four, doing it again month after month. That's where the loop effect really works with this blueprint. All right, so part four turns the argument into something usable. All right, so audit this week's content. Is it solving a real constraint or just filling a slot? And many people will see that they're actually filling slot. So this is part of the webinar, all right, series or a special webinar episode. Make sure you watch other part of this webinar and watch the entire webinar as well to solve your marketing exhaustion, right, or overwhelming issues. So this webinar works because it reveals what's running on autopilot. Right, this audit works because it reveals what's running on autopilot. So the wrong things that keep on just happening automatically. All right. So what it is, so for each piece of content planned this week, asking whether it traces back to a diagnosed constraint or or was decided in the moment and framework required just an honest trade. What am I trying to say? So for a piece of content that you are planning to release this week, right? I want to look at that. Am I releasing this because I want to address this particular constraint, or I'm just releasing for releasing sake? And am I really releasing the series of content to address a particular constraint? Because you cannot effectively be addressing visibility while also addressing authority, while also addressing this. Usually every week should kind of have a focus. If you cannot even be in a month, every week should have a focus at this. Like something that is like 80% of your content is on it. 20 can be for free for play or for any other thing. But most of it is focused on dealing with that particular layer, that particular constraint. So what could be the common reason for failure taking this audit? Is assuming that your content is intentional, right? Because it was planned in advance and you even have one of the best planning to plan isn't the same as diagnosis. So you can sit down and actually plan something, but it never came out of a real diagnosis. It came out of assumption, it came out of hearsay, it came out of seeing things that you saw in the market. So you cannot really tell whether this was actually done intentionally. So what's the fix here? So if you can't name the constraint, it moves, right? It is if you can't name the constraint, it moves. So it goes somewhere. It's just going around. It's just moving around your content, right? It's a slot filler. It's just filling things. Nothing really done over there. So the first question in this audit, and you have to answer honestly. The first one is, how much time does my weekly content planning currently take? Honestly, right? Honestly measure, how long do you take to plan weekly? Some may be 2, some 4 hours, some may be 6 hours, some may be more than that, right? And then the second thing is, does this week's content trace back to a diagnosed constraint, or was it decided in the moment? All right, so you want to ask yourself that question. Then three, which constraint is binding my growth this month? Is it visibility? Is it authority? Is it conversion? Is it capacity? We spoke about that earlier. And then four, what would change if I run diagnose and if I diagnose or design once a month instead of guessing every week? So this is a sincere thing, right? You saw what happened when you were just guessing every week. Now you are going with the mindset of diagnosing, right? Having a diagnosis of what's happening based on and knowing what exactly is your constraint. What could happen to your business? What could happen to your engagement? What could happen to that page? And then five, what's the smallest first version of the blueprint loop I could start running this week? What's the smallest version of it? So you want to start somewhere. What's the easiest way? That blueprint loop, the feedback that you took from it, what exactly are you going to do with it from this very week? Right? So practically, let's look at the case study here. So how one coach cut weekly content planning in half with one system change. Right. So a coach who rebuilt their content calendar from scratch every Sunday for over a year, calling it the most dreaded 2 hours of the week. And it can only be dreaded when you're using a clear framework. Sometimes even when you use AI, right? And you are not even telling that AI, this was happening with my business, this is a concept that I found. AI will just do what AI does, just pick things from everywhere, organize them in a very nice way, and just give you an answer. But if you even decide to use AI for content, kind okay, this is what's happening in my business. I want to address visibility issues. I want to address authority issues. I want to address the conversion constraint. I want to address the capacity constraint. It helps make your content calendar more accurate and more intentional. So one loop have the planning time. So 50% weekly planning, right? So when you start applying what we're talking about, what will happen is that there will be at least half reduction. That's what happened to this coach. A half reduction in the weekly planning time. So maybe you're spending 3 hours, it become an hour and a half. You're spending 4 hours, become, just 2 hours, right? A weekly planning cut within the first month of running the loop, and then 1 month, right, to see the shift. So you just applied for 1 month, not that the day you stop for the wrong thing, things just saying no. For 1 month, you just said, okay, things start changing after a month, right? And then what happens is that zero dread left unresolved. So it's no more a dreadful thing. That exhaustion, that feeling of, oh, am I coming to do this again? Come on. And you can even postpone it. That actually like causes for why many pages sometimes are not consistent, because the content calendar defines everything. You cannot really in a very accurate way come up with the problem that you are addressing with your content. It's really going to be a dreadful one. So the most valuable part wasn't the time save. It was the elimination of a low grade dread that was built up around content planning. All right. All right. So what actually changed? So Sunday planning, or maybe weekend planning, however you put it. Before it used to be, it was rebuilt from scratch every week, right? It takes 2 hours or even more. And then after, what happens is that execution against an existing plan. So that's what the content calendar is about now, every weekend. Weekly planning time. So consistently dreaded, dreaded and full length. So what happens now is that it's cut roughly into half within a month. And then content direction for general presence, right? So you are just there in the market, you are just around and everything here and there, that kind of thing, right? But now what happens now is that you can tracing to a specific, there is no constraint. So you know that somebody can tell you actually addressing this particular thing over and over. And then low grade dread, before it used to be present in every single week. Every single week. And then resolve each week. Right. So what happens is that it has been resolved each week and there's a clear answer, right? There's a clear way to go around everything. All right. So part five, right here, I think this was even part five. So every week now had a clear answer to what I should make before the week even began. So the coach, after adopting the blueprint loop, that's what they end up saying. So every week now had a clear answer to what should I make before the week even began. So there's just more clarity to whatever you're doing. All right. So that's it. All right. So why adding a system feels like more work when you are already overwhelmed. So, why does it look like that? Why is this hard to do the right thing? This is where what we're actually addressing. So knowing the loop helps, and starting it while overwhelmed are two different battles. So we're already overwhelmed. Now we will propose a system that you can use. Why would you not decide to use it? What could be on your mind, right? If we are teaching holy in a very wholesome way, we must help you answer that question. So the loop feels like overhead when already busy. So what it looks like. So adding a structured monthly process can feel like one more obligation stuck on top of an already full schedule. Unfortunately, it looks like that. And the counter tactics, the loops takes less the loop takes less total time than generating or than regenerating ideas from a blank page every week. It replaces ongoing low-grade decisions fatigue with one concentrated planning session a month. All right, and then next, what we will end up seeing is that what if my constraint changes mid-month? What if, right? So what it looks like. Fast-moving businesses sometimes see a constraint shift before the previous month's content plans. and has been fully executed. So sometimes something can come up in the market, something can change. Maybe it's no more about visibility, it's about authority. So what do we do in that case? So this is normal. It doesn't require abandoning the plan. The monthly re-diagnosis step, which is the last step, exists precisely to catch and adjust this in the next cycle or this next cycle. And then the what if they can be genuine. They can be genuine. All right. So what if I don't know which constraint is binding right now? So that's exactly what diagnosis is for. Revisit the frameworks from earlier chapters as checklists against visibility, authority, convention, and capacity. So just going through some of the framework that we discussed, that's what will really help you. And then what if a month goes by and nothing improves? Okay, so check whether deploy, right, actually happened, gated properly. So running deploy without diagnosis or design just relabels the old blank page problem. So somebody can try and deploy, try and do a new piece of content, just try and do new stuff, but they've not done the diagnosis, they've not done the design parts, right? Then they're trying to deploy. So it's just the same thing that happened with the old blank pages that will just keep on happening because nothing has really changed. And then what if I only have time for part of the loop? Okay, what if I only have time for part of the loop? So diagnose and design together typically take under an hour once the habit is established. So that's the minimum viable version worth protecting. And I recommend that. I mean, if you are feeling overwhelmed at this moment in the solution being proposed to kind of reduce your time, and as you can see, this is actually being done free. If you're interested in getting it, like the platforms or the books or the courses that we bought, I don't think we'll be spending time here, right? We will not be hearing it so easily. So this is generally done because you want to see some changes in some coaches' life out there. So you want to actually give time to this. Give it at least, it should not take more than an hour to get this whole thing done. All right, part 7. So the monthly loop that ends the weekend. The weekend content scramble for good. So there's something that you can do once a month that will help you end this particular, question, what do I need to do here and there? So the monthly blueprint loop, 2 rules. First rule is a run diagnosis and design once at the start of the month. Always want to make sure that you are doing that at the start of the month. Not every week, one concentrated planning session under 1 hour. So that's what you want to do. Just once a month, you want to do that, not every week. And then 2, let every week's content trace back to their diagnosis. So if a piece doesn't connect to the constraint, it is a slot filler, not the real plan. So every content that you make should actually trace to the constraint that you identify yourself. And then, lastly, so why does marketing feels I feel like a second job, right? Here's what actually changes. So you starting from a blank page every week and start running a cycle that already knows what's next. So the loop doesn't reduce the amount of content being made. It removes the exhausting part, deciding what it should be. 52 separate times a year, 52 times a year, right? So you now have the framework, the audit, the recap study, right? So what's left now is your first diagnosis for this month. So you can go ahead and do that. So you already know what's missing, what's the missing upstream or what's missing up there, right? So let's build your loop. Let's build it with you together. So we are offering you a free 15-minute call where we'd like to hear about your business and see exactly how we can help you in a more unique way and provide you some answers as well, right? That's completely free. So make sure you check the link in the description to actually book that. Thank you once again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.